How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sunday, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern, Saturday mornings with Jim Valley, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern, Sundays with Andrew Zarian. And yes, it is Wednesday here on the show, and you know what that means? We got a lot to talk about. We got Dynamite tonight. A lot of stuff announced for the show. We're going to go over the full lineup for Dynamite here tonight. Last night, of course, was NXT. I got a correction from yesterday, because I can't keep track of anything at this point. The Halloween Havoc show is a pay-per-view, a PLE, Sunday on Peacock. And so we will be covering that on Sunday for the Bryan and Vinny show and Wrestling Observer Radio. And then there is another show the following Tuesday. And then Wednesday, it's Friday Night Dynamite. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and because the WWE pay-per-view is coming up in Saudi Arabia, they're not doing back-to-back. So we got a WWE pay-per-view this weekend and a WWE pay-per-view next weekend, and everything else as well. So we'll talk about that, the Dynamite lineup for tonight, and all of the news, including the latest on the Kung Lee lawsuit that we've been talking about a lot on the Wrestling Observer Radio show. The judge had initially denied the settlement that had been basically both sides had agreed to this settlement, and the judge was like, not happening. So a new settlement was suggested, and this time Richard Boulware, he did give preliminary approval. What does this mean for a fellow like Filthy Tom Lawler? Well, we'll tell you about that, plus all of the news in wrestling, Adam Cole, Bobby Lashley, Hologram's injury, ratings, and, of course, at the end of the show, the NXT TV report. A lot to get into here today. Text us, 425-780-7566. That is 425-780-7566. Bryan at WrestlingObserver.com. F4WOnline at gmail.com. F4W Online, Threads, Instagram, and Cameo. You can find me at Bryan Alvarez on Twitter. Back in a moment, Observer Live. Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. We got a lot to talk about today. And before we get into it, just want to point out this show today is free. And if you enjoy this show, well, we have the option to subscribe and get 84 odd shows every month. That's a lot of content. 84 hours or more of content every month, just $9.99. And there's a million ways to do it. We've got Apple Podcasts. You can find our area, f4wonline.com/Apple. You can find us on Spotify. Go to f4wonline.com/Spotify. Or YouTube. You can watch the videos in beautiful HD at 4wonline.com/YouTube. So check any of those out, $9.99 a month, and you get anywhere from 2 to 3 new full-length podcasts every day. 84 shows a month for $9.99. So get them downloaded to your phone or watch them every night at 4wonline.com/Apple, at 4wonline.com/Spotify, at 4wonline.com/YouTube. Any of those options, $9.99. Or you can sign up for the main site. You know, you get the podcast, but also the archives. Somebody actually added it up. It's over 15,000 shows in the archives now. That's up at WrestlingObserver.com. You also get the Observer newsletter and more. So if you like this show, sign up, everybody. And you won't regret it as you drive to your job stuck in traffic, and you can listen to me talk about Paul Ellering in 1981 when he was cosplaying superstar Billy Graham. Man. Anyway, we got a lot to talk about here today. Another lawsuit has been filed against WWE, Vince McMahon, Linda McMahon, and TKO Group Holdings today on behalf of 5 survivors of the Ring Boy scandal. Been a while since we had a new lawsuit filed against Vince. The lawsuit alleges that WWE was aware of and did nothing to stop ring announcer and ring crew chief Mel Phillips' sexual abuse of underage boys on the ring crew. It states that Phillips targeted children from broken homes. Assaults occurred not only at wrestling events, but also in hotel rooms, other locations where Phillips would have the boys shuttled. Allegations became public 1992, were covered on shows such as A Current Affair and Donahue. Lawsuit also states that the 5 survivors, named John Does 1 through 5 in the suit, only recently learned of the depth of knowledge the McMahons and WWE had about their abuse. As a result of new insights gained from the lawsuit, Janelle Grant filed in January. Greg Gutzler, who is leading the litigation, says, "Thanks to the bravery of our clients, we finally have a chance to hold accountable those who allowed and enabled the open, rampant sexual abuse of these young boys. That so many were aware of the sexual abuse of the ring boys, did nothing to prevent or stop it, is simply unconscionable. WWE and the McMahons had a responsibility to these underage boys. They failed them in the worst way possible. We will vigorously fight to uncover the truth about this systemic, insidious, life-altering abuse." And I believe no response from WWE or Vince or anybody involved yet. But that's the latest. Another one coming out. And a lot of individuals targeted as well. WWE, Vince, Linda, and TKO.
Well, Linda was the, president at the time of Titan Sports. I'm not sure exactly what her position was exactly, but it'll be interesting to see what new information is out there and how they are going to go about approaching this case. Mel Phillips, and then the people that were also tied into this after the fact, Terry Garvin, Pat Patterson, have all passed away at this point. So it'll be interesting to see what is brought along here and what angle is going to be played when it comes to the plaintiffs in this case.
We also had another lawsuit that has been settled. Preliminary approval. So our own Filthy Tom Lawler was part of this. It was the Kung Lee lawsuit. On Tuesday, Nevada federal judge Richard Boulware gave his preliminary approval, $375 million settlement, giving a lifeline of sorts for hundreds of former UFC fighters desperately in need of money. Next step following formal approval is for the UFC to actually pay the money into an escrow account and for the lead team to then disperse the remaining funds after recovering their fees. Fees are expected to be $115 million, cannot be more than 33% of the total award. So essentially what happened here is this was a lawsuit filed against UFC and TKO, underpaying the fighters. And there had been a preliminary settlement amount of $335 million that would be spread out amongst these fighters. And both sides agreed to this settlement, okay? Both sides agreed. They go to the judge. The judge says, I ain't approving that. Not enough. So, everybody involved was like, what? Because, quite frankly, I mean, we talked about this a long time ago. It was either going to be a settlement or it was going to go to court, okay? And both sides were concerned about it going to court. Because the fact of the matter is, as far as how much should you pay the fighters? What percentage of profits do you pay the fighters? It's not like there's a law. The fighters signed an agreement and the UFC paid the money to the fighters. Was it morally right or wrong what they paid? The issue is, was it legal what they did? And, the feeling was we could go to court and it could be determined that, yeah, it was legal, and then nobody gets anything, including the lawyers who worked 10 years on this suit. So pretty much all sides were like, let's not risk this. Let's just settle. And then the judge comes along and goes, nope, I'd rather see this thing go to court. And then both sides were like, oh my God, we could end up with nothing. So they offered a $375 million from $335. And this time, all of the fighters were like, people from both sides are basically begging this judge, please agree to this settlement. All of us agree to this. We're fine with it. We don't want to go. So finally, the judge, he did his preliminary approval. So basically, 35 class members would net over $1 million. 100 would net over $500,000. More than 200 would recover over $250,000. And 500 would net in excess of $100,000. Nearly 800 would recover over $50,000. So a person like Tom, based on the number of fights that he had, he's probably looking at $150,000, $175,000, somewhere around there. We'll get him on the show, see if he wants to talk about it. But, he's going to be making six figures off of this. So a lot of fighters are going to make a lot of money. Of course, the fighters that probably need it the most are not going to make the most. We're talking guys like Brock Lesnar, who's, God only knows how much that guy's worth. I can't even tell you. He's worth a lot. He's going to get several million. Ronda Rousey's going to get several million. George St. Pierre, guys like that. The low-level fighters who are really looking for money, they're not going to get millions, but they'll get something. So it looks like everybody is happy with how this turned out.
Well, if you're entitled to it, you're entitled to it. It's like your Social Security. You work all your life for it. Sure, you've saved up enough where maybe you don't need Social Security, but guess what? I've been paying into that my entire working life. Give me my money. And in this case, when it comes to these fighters, I don't know if people realize how much fighters have to put out for their camps, for bringing in sparring partners, all that sort of stuff. They would get X amount of dollars that you would see listed, but then they had a bunch of expenses that they had to pay out. And it's not like they've been living great. And that's always been the case when it comes to fighters, boxing into mixed martial arts. There really is only one answer to this, which is unionizing and getting some sort of collective bargaining, because that's the only way you really help yourself and your fellow athletes. But we know that's never going to happen.
All right, more news after the break. Observer Live.
By Chico, excuse me, the twins. Yeah.
One other thing that should be noted about the lawsuit, the Kung Lee lawsuit, is that this was the period between December 16, 2010, June 30, 2017. And there is another Kajan Johnson versus UFC antitrust case with a different time frame, and also includes fighters that when they signed their deals, had to agree that they would not be part of a class action lawsuit. They're now part of a class action lawsuit, so we'll see what happens with that one. But the point is, of this $375 million, the Kung Lee suit covers like 1,200 fighters, but some of them could have opted out. I don't think that's going to happen. But now that the agreement has been made, or the preliminary agreement, all of these fighters need to basically provide information on your address, blah, blah, blah. So if many of them don't, that money still gets paid out to the remaining fighters. So if it's $260 million going out to 100% of the fighters, if only 80% confirm their address and everything, that $260 million is now going to be dispersed among the remaining 80%. So whatever their estimate is, it likely is going to end up being a little bit larger than they've estimated now, because there probably will be people. I know it sounds ridiculous that some people won't confirm their address and stuff, but things happen, and it'll probably be a little higher than that. Not substantially, but that's how it's being worked out.
It's possible that fighters have passed away in that time too, who may have originally been on the lawsuit, and the only thing I know is lawyers are going to get about 30% of that. So,
all right, tonight is Dynamite. Actually, no, that's none. It's $375, and the lawyers are going to get $115. So the $260 is being dispersed amongst the fighters, and that's a lot of money. A lot of money going to a lot of people. Tonight is Dynamite. We have got John Moxley appears, which means he's going to kill some people. Mark Briscoe and Chris Jericho, ladder war for the Ring of Honor title. The Elite versus Daniel Garcia and Private Party. We got Sammy Guevara versus Shelton Benjamin, Camille versus Queen Aminata, House of Black in action. Hook is going to confront Taz's attackers, and we will hear from Kyle Fletcher. So we got a full lineup. I wonder if they've sold any tickets since. Let's see if I can find that. I talked about this yesterday. They've had a card well in advance. Let's see if we've got an update today. Let's see. Does not look like it.
May not do it until right before the show. I think he may wait till the last minute on days like this. But again, this show and then the one Collision coming up here on Saturday in Cedar Rapids, would be interesting to see if they were able to spike any ticket sales for that show as well too, although I'm not sure what exactly they have announced so far for that. I know they have one match announced for Rampage that's being taped tonight.
Yeah, I don't see anything for Collision. I may have missed something, but yeah, Rampage, Undisputed Kingdom versus the Gates of Agony in a three-way with Shane Taylor Promotions. So that's what we know about Rampage. Have they announced anything for Collision? I know they've been announcing a lot of matches. We've got everything tonight, something for Rampage, two things for the Halloween edition of the show. But
so I don't think they have said anything about Collision now that I think about it. I'm really not sure.
Why have they not announced anything for Collision with the show doing this poorly?
I don't know.
What's happening?
And if there's anybody, and I'm dead serious about this, if there's anybody in Iowa that is, watching their local news or anything like that, I'm interested to know if there's been any promotion. Have there been inserts onto WWE shows with, saying that tickets are available for AEW or anything like that? Interested to know if they've done any blitzing at all here in the last couple of days.
All right, well, if I hear anything in the next half hour, I'll start to plug it. But yeah, Cedar Rapids. And granted, our last update was almost a week ago, but it was 952 tickets. So.
And what size building is that, too? Because I honestly have no idea what building they're in.
Well, it's set up for
campus.
It's set up for 1,600. I'm not sure. Try and find what the capacity is.
Because at the very least, the smaller the building, and in that case, hopefully, the shorter the ceiling, that does help affect the crowd noise, which is always muted for multiple reasons at AEW shows.
Okay, the capacity of this building is 9,000. The Alliant Energy Powerhouse. Hobbs better be back for that show this Saturday. Because he's Powerhouse Hobbs.
Wait, let's see, Iowa's in Ames, Iowa, University of Iowa. Would that be Iowa State and Cedar Rapids? Producer Dom, can you check on that?
This
is
is
their home
Cedar
building?
Rapids, Iowa, in downtown Cedar Rapids. That's where this show
Probably
is
beautiful
taking
this
place.
time of year.
Yes. Nothing for
plane.
Collision yet. That's what I've been told here on the chat. They
Iowa
sold
State is
9.
also Ames.
Okay.
Oh, it's Iowa State is Ames? So where's the University of Iowa then?
Iowa City.
It's not Iowa City, is it?
Yes.
Maybe.
You're questioning my geographical knowledge?
Well, I know. You were a big fan of Big E when he played football there.
Yeah, sure was, man. Okay, what else do we have here? I actually spent some time on this. Did you guys watch NXT last night?
Yes,
You did?
I did.
Can you believe?
What Carlito said? Yeah, no, it's
No.
crazy. Oh,
Can you believe that the Javon Evans character is now me?
they're stealing bits from this show, and I'm Nathan Frazier, I think.
He literally is now Bryan Alvarez. Like, I could not believe this segment they did.
Good luck with your career, buddy.
So, they're backstage. It's Cedric and Javon, okay? Tell me if this sounds familiar, everybody, okay? Cedric and Javon are backstage, and Axiom and Nathan Frazier walk up. And Axiom says to Javon Evans, "Hey, congratulations, man. You had back-to-back main events. You didn't win, but you were close. You're gonna get there." And Nathan Frazier says to him, "You're young. You've got time." And now Javon is like, he's furious. And he goes, "Dude, I am so sick of people telling me that I'm young and I've got time." And Frazier says, "Don't worry. You're going to win the big one eventually. It'll be a while, but you'll win that big one eventually. Get used to it, kid. I had to deal with all that when I was your age." Now Javon can take no more, slaps a dude across the face, storms off, and then Javon Alvarez runs into Wes Lee, who says, "Look, hate's going to come at you from all directions, but don't worry. You got time for all that." Now Javon's furious. I'm like, my God. Like, it's me now. It's me and the rest of these idiots are the NXT writing team that have been telling me, "Oh, don't worry, he's all right. He's okay, he's young."
I can't believe this. All those years that you grew up imitating and wanting to be the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, so bad, and now he's stealing all your material to put on NXT, on the CW, on national TV every single week.
Hey, listen, I'll be Javon's spirit animal.
Oh, my God.
I'll wave the flag. Whatever it takes. Come on.
You going to be bouncy?
Don't worry about Javon. He'll be fine. God, he's as sick of that as I am. Sick of it.
It's true.
Both of us. So anyway, now I can't even believe I may complain about this. Now they've announced that Javon and Cedric are getting a tag team title shot next week.
You
It's
hate
like,
Cedric.
that's what we're going to do to
See?
make all
Here
this
we
better.
go. He's gonna be a
Javon and
champion.
Cedric are going to win the tag titles with
going
a
to be
week's build.
champion.
God.
Gonna be a champion, but it's with Cedric, so it is beneath him. They're still killing this kid. He's got no more time.
No, the point is
it's almost over.
any nerd can win the tag team titles. Like, whatever, who cares? He'll get his belt. You know? Nick Wayne won the tag titles. That went a long way, by the way. You know, and then somebody else. You ever gone and look at some of the videos that get...
the GCW tag title?
Listen, have you
Jordan
ever...
Oliver carried him.
Have you ever gone on YouTube and looked at some of the videos that get put up and then look at the comments on them? It's like, I mean, we got to do it and everything like that, but you can just see, like, there's so many people that they only watch, like, the short YouTube videos. So there was, like, a video up there where I was, like, complaining about Javon and how they just are wasting him and he's just doing whatever and he's a jobber and everything. And then, you know, there's all these people in the comments going, "Gee, I wonder if he had the same energy regarding Nick Wayne." Well, actually, yeah. You just don't listen to those shows. God, it's just as bad. It's actually, you know what? It's actually worse with Nick Wayne because Javon's actually had like matches. I mean, how many matches has Nick Wayne had in AEW? 13 since he turned 18 or whatever. And then he wins he was 1/3 of the trios titles for like a week. And then they just took him off him again. Like, yes, I have in fact had the same energy for Nick Wayne. I'm sorry if you don't listen to that show. Smarten up and listen to it before you do a stupid comment. You geeks.
Why do you say you have to do that? You don't have to do that. You can
have to do what?
You can close the comment section instead of letting all the vermin in and just spew
No.
nonsense. It would be one thing if you actually got some intelligent commentary.
Well, sometimes
all
you do.
About really? When?
Yeah, sometimes
Point
you
it
do.
out. Ever.
You know, like
I'll let you do the research.
I had that post where I was like, AEW needs to like promote more, and they need to not book for the sickos or whatever. And there were a lot of people that were like, the guy's right. Like, let's promote our wrestling shows. Promote them. Anyway, we'll do some more news after the break. Then I'll talk about this NXT on CW. Back in a moment. Observer Live.
We've almost reached the pinnacle of the tour, but this is one of the most important things. This is the computer. This is the workstation where I do the majority of the actual physical part of putting Figure 4 together. I do the writing here, the editing here, of course the phone calls, even the microphone here when we used to do Wrestling Observer Live, which has since died. And in fact, I better put the screensaver on here so this doesn't get burned in the screen. But putting the newsletter together, people understand, it's a lot of hard work and dedication, like 2 to 3 hours per week sometimes I have to spend on it. And, hold on a second. Figure 4, who's this? Carl Thorillo? Yeah. Yeah, hey, listen, can I call you back? I'm doing something here right now. My fridge? Yes, running. Hello? Anyway, this is, like I said, computer. Got the TV here. This is pretty much the place. This is going to be a quick tour of the trophy room. This is actually my trophy case. It's made of mahogany, very expensive. But what is worth far more than the case itself is what is inside. And that is the medals from the various sports and the accomplishments that I've achieved during my lifetime. This first drawer here is my gymnastics medals. Here, I got state and such. These are my Taekwondo medals. These down here, amateur wrestling medals. And down here are the 26 medals that I won in the 5-kilometer walk down to the Bothell Landing over the course of the past 5 years. And, I realize that I'm a 4-sport superstar right here, and some people, it might bother them that they haven't had such achievements in their life, but I think that the whole point is that you can achieve anything. If you can make a great pie, you can win the pie eating contest at the Puyallup Fair, and I don't know, hell, if you can eat a good pie, you might win the pie eating contest as well. So there's achievement in this life for everybody.
Adam Cole in an interview with Sports Illustrated. He said that he injured his leg so badly, the doctors had to put a cadaver bone in his leg. First piece of news that I heard was your ankle is way worse than we anticipated. You have to get another surgery in 7 days. So not only did I have to get double the amount of screws in my ankle, also I had to get someone else's bone put into my ankle because the bone piece within my ankle just completely disintegrated. Incredibly thankful to the donor and the family. Certainly a better option. Definitely notice a difference in my left ankle as opposed to my right one. I think that comes with the territory. He was out for a year and finally able to come back.
Increase the vitamin D.
Brutal. Yeah. Also, Hologram is injured, which explains the random angle they had at Battle of the Belts, where Roosh, Dralistico, and the Beast Mortos all beat him up backstage and tried to take his mask off. So apparently he got hurt at that Wrestle Dream Best of 3 Falls match with Mortos. Don't have any idea the severity of the injury, but apparently it'll be a few weeks, so hopefully that means nothing too serious. And then Raw on Monday night, 1.58 million viewers, 0.51 in 18 to 49. They tied with The Voice as the highest rated show in 18 to 49 outside of, obviously, the NFL. They faced a lot of competition. Ravens versus the Buccaneers, 16 million viewers, and a 4.71 in 18 to 49.
The kids love Lamar.
Yeah. You know what's funny is, by the way, it's 1.61 million viewers and 1.55 million viewers. Lenny hasn't been around for a while, but you ever notice it, like when you go over these ratings here, and let's say you're a big fan of AEW, and you talk about how, this Rampage show did the lowest number ever for a Rampage. The lowest 18 to 49. Like, we're talking shows that were preempted, different, like it never did a lower 18. And then they go, I don't care about these numbers. Doesn't matter to me. I just want to watch a show. Well, first off, you can't watch Rampage anymore after the end of this year because it got canceled. So you can't watch it anymore. Probably would have not been canceled if it had done better. But the other thing they go is, only in wrestling do people talk about ratings. I just want to mention that I do another non-wrestling show for subscribers. It's called After Dark Radio. We talk about Bigfoot and paranormal activities and UFOs. Got a guy coming on this Thursday to talk about exorcisms. And you can listen to this show, by the way, as part of a subscription on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube. F4WOnline.com/Spotify, F4WOnline.com/Apple, F4WOnline.com/YouTube. Any of these work. $9.99 a month. But anyway, the point is, so I had a guy on talking about the paranormal and, ghost hunting. You ever watch those ghost hunting shows? And I said, this guy actually had a degree. He had a master's degree in parapsychology, and he runs experiments and such. And I said, what do you see on these shows that is good or bad? How are these shows? And he goes, I don't like these shows because essentially, the ghost hunting shows, there's a right way to look for ghosts apparently, but there's also what the producers of the show want. And he goes, they always want you to look for ghosts in the dark. Like you go to a cemetery or you go to a spooky house in the middle of the night in the dark and you look through the thing with your FLIR and everything. He goes, we get, people report ghosts and hauntings and everything. He goes, these things almost never happen at night in the dark. Almost nobody is in the dark and they see a ghost. They see a ghost they're walking through the thing, walking through Sistine Chapel or whatever, and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and he goes, it never happens in the dark. But these producers, they want to get great ratings, he says. They say, well, turn off the lights, it's spookier. Or, hey, go to the grave. He goes, how many people report ghosts in a graveyard? Nobody. Nobody ever reports a ghost in a graveyard. But they, the producers, because they want to draw big ratings, they want you to go to the graveyard. So anyway, the point of this is everybody is concerned about ratings. It isn't something where wrestling fans or whatever, it's everybody's concerned about it. If you're a fan of the ghost hunting shows, you want your show to do a good number so it doesn't get canceled. Anyway. So don't turn off the lights when you're looking for ghosts, you idiots. Leave the lights on. Maybe you'll see him. We had Kairi Sane and Io Sky versus Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend. Not a great match. It was very clear Jakara and Lash should be in development a little longer. They weren't like terrible, but you could see like this was not a main roster caliber match. There were a lot of botched spots, a lot of people out of position. And then finally, the match, I mean, despite all that, it was like getting pretty good. And then Piper Niven showed up and tripped Jakara for the DQ. Atrocious finish. It's like, I don't even know what these people have to do with anything. Why are Chelsea and Piper attacking Jakara? And like, did I miss something on SmackDown? So this sucked. And then the saving grace was they did go nuts for Piper and Chelsea because they're from the main roster. We had a segment. Correct me if I'm wrong here, okay? Hank and Tank are doing a rally, and OTM shows up. And I'm going to mute myself here. OTM walks up, and they go, "What the?" Like, totally dropped an F-bomb right on the CW. And they didn't bleep it or anything. I was like, okay. They challenged these guys to a match for later on. We had Jada Parker and Tatum Paxley. My prayers were answered. Jada beat her. Fortunately, she didn't break any of her toys. I was hoping that would happen too. But then, in a scene that I have not seen since World Championship Wrestling in the 90s, and yes, this is a direct comparison to WCW, after the match, Wendy Chu showed up, and she put Tatum Paxley in a box.
Can you believe she sent her to Ohio Valley Wrestling?
She put her in a box. Oh, was that? I think they did. I think they did in WCW too.
That was the Spirit Squad when.
The Spirit Squad also got sent. They got put in a box too.
Well, here's the thing: when she comes out of that box on TNA Impact, she'll be over.
Well, the other thing is they put her in a box, and then there's a segment later where Wendy's just like pushing this box backstage, and it's like nobody cared. Like nobody's were like, you put someone in a box. Can we like get him out of the box? Nope. They were just like, she's just carting a box backstage.
They're freaky people. It may not surprise them.
Lexus King is getting a shot at the Heritage Cup next week, but he needs a corner man, and he can't find one because no one likes him. And at one point he goes to Ava and he goes, "Can you assign a corner?" And she goes, "I don't assign cornermen. Like either find one or you don't have one." And then he's a sad sack sap. Man, just nobody likes me.
I'm not a loose cannon. I'm a straight shooter.
They don't trust me no more. Yeah, he's Ridge Holland about a year ago. Nobody trusts him.
I'll say this, though. For as much as there's been a lot of spinning of wheels, they've done a much better job making him Brian Pillman Jr. as Lexus King than he was as Brian Pillman Jr.
And we had Cedric and Javon Alvarez talking to the writing team. Got a Stephanie Vacure and Julia video package. Both of them, no English whatsoever. They just did subtitles for the entire thing. They did say that they were going to finish off Roxanne and Court Halloween Havoc, and then they were going to be on their way. Like they'd be going to the main roster or something. I don't think that's happening. Shawn Michaels pretty much said, we're going to take it slow because of the language barrier.
On their way to the top, winning titles.
Rizzo was beat up backstage, so Luca Crucifino and Stax had to go out alone while Tony tended to Rizzo. Obafemi absolutely kills Luca Crucifino. Obafemi is a one-man BCC, and I love it. And so afterwards, they... afterwards, old
can you think
Tony
of any
D.
other acronyms there to describe him?
BCC, you idiot.
I'm just saying.
So then they have Tony come out afterwards. He gets zip-tied, and then Oba destroys both of the family members in front of Tony. And, man, poor Tony's sad. Trick and Ethan come out for a face-to-face. It was fine. Ethan tried to play it up like, you know, I'm hardcore. I've been all over the world. I bleed. You haven't been through what I've been through. Which, by the way, Trick admits, you're right. I'm pretty lucky. But Ethan has vowed to make him taste his own blood. Not just the blood, but that copper taste. It's like, what?
Very main roster. This went on seemingly forever, but they did do a good job pushing it along. But it was one of those things that it was set up for X amount of time, and they were going to go through it and get all their lines in no matter if anybody was sitting on their hands or not.
Carmen Petrovich and Sol Ruka had a match built off something earlier where, they're actually teasing. They're teasing her about having a crush on Ashanti. So they have a match.
Adonis Lee, you didn't like it?
And Ashanti comes out and leaves with another blonde from the crowd. So, of course,
no graphic for her.
Carmen is distracted. Sol hits the Soul Snatcher. I tried to warn Carmen, this ain't going to end well, but she's smitten. So, such is life. Then we had my absolute favorite thing on the show because it was so profoundly bad. So we got Tyson and Tyreek, who I believe for the first time in the history of NXT got a graphic. They're backstage with Nikita Lyons, who has just returned. Okay? Nikita Lyons says the following words, which I swear to God I am not making up. They're meeting backstage, and she says, "Look, the lioness is back, and I'm on the prowl. And best believe, after all I've been through, I'm always going to pounce first." I said, I got to rewind this 100 times. And I did. I laughed harder every time. She's trying to get them to look for an opportunity. And suddenly Oba walks up and he gives her her robe. He goes, "You dropped this." She says, "Thank you." He says, "No, thank you." Apparently she's going heel. And she is the one who attacked Rizzo. Huh. How about that? Then we had OTM versus Hank and Tank. And this NASCAR geek who was on the show for like an hour before they finally announced that he was Cole Custer. He was like such a big fan, they didn't have to tell us who it was.
He was in the skit earlier on.
I know, and they never identified him. They never identified him.
They
He's just
said his
out
name.
there. No, they were like, whatever. So anyway, Cole Custer is out there, who, by the way, was very exuberant. I got to give him that. And then at the end, they're doing all these spots. The ref is distracted. He hits one OTM with like a catalytic converter, some car thing.
That was his helmet.
And then the guy gets pinned. Hank and Tank win.
Did you like it? He was at least out there in his gear.
And then Lola gets in the ring, and she had Cole Custer shake his hips with her and Hank and Tank. I like this segment. I was entertained. Had a Ridge Holland promo, Tony D promo, all hyping up Halloween Havoc and such. And then the main event was Fallon and JC against Stephanie and Julia, which actually was a pretty good match. And then, they're doing all these spots and everything, and Kalani runs down. You know the most amazing thing about this show was? I'll tell you after the break. But anyway, Kalani runs down, interferes, and hits JC with a headbutt. Julie hits JC with a headbutt running knee. Stephanie package backbreaker for the pin. And then just like this segment, it's like they're rushing for time. So it's like, spin the wheel. Brrr, ends up on spinner's choice. And then here comes, what's-her-face, Zarya. And then it shows off the air. They got cut off early because they went long. Notice I'm hitting my cue. Observer Live. We did, in fact, by popular demand, watch Ready to Rumble.
The champion is some fat loser.
Yeah, he's a completely talentless, no athletic ability, can't wrestle, broke bum that walked out on his wife and kid.
But he was
he's
over.
The world champion.
He
and
was.
in the movie, the
Well, yeah, but
storyline
that's a
is-
microcosm of wrestling, sadly.
Yes.
He feels so bad about drinking this entire slushy that cost $1.26, and he sticks his finger in his asshole and walks up to the clerk.
Lance is dying. How could the movie be so bad?
I'm not going to fault the man for that, of all the things in the movie.
I thought for
okay?
sure you were going to say you'd done this before.
There's a reason I'm not going to fault the man for that.
I just think with all the porta potties and farting in this, that I think Vince McMahon was a secret producer on this film. Had to have been.
So then we get the Shermanator. He's playing a WCW arcade game. He uses some internet sleuthing to find the personal information of Jimmy King.
He's searching the internet. Can find out anything on here. This movie was so antiquated. Every Nitro Girl is in a Nitro Girl outfit, except for this girl. They had her
want
dance
her
in something
to stand
totally
out,
different.
Brian, like the captain.
So we're so stupid. I got it.
Captain
Yes,
Stavin.
if you're watching this film, you're that stupid. I'm sorry.
But I was also insulted by the fact they hired Michael Buffer to announce the Royal Bash, the fake-ass Royal Bash.
$24 million budget.
Wow.
And probably $500,000 of that went to Michael Buffer. It made 12. You know, we should mention this cage match is the triple-decker Cage of Doom. Everybody buried it. It was horrible. Everybody hated it. And so they decided to make a movie. And what is the final battle? It's another goddamn triple-decker cage match. This would be like in 2010 if like TNA made a movie and the final match was a reverse battle royal.
They throw powder in someone's face, DDP's, I think, or somebody's, and the dude just looks at it and goes, "It doesn't work." It's like, of course, because wrestling's fake and stupid.
Should we just end it there? What a soundbite. There has never been a movie I have watched in my entire life which has made me hate myself more.
Wow.
I'm ashamed that I'm even in the place at 41 years old where I would end up reviewing this movie for money. I would have thought I would have made it out of here by now. You know what I mean? I'm done.
Well, everyone, hopefully we can do this again someday. Instead of suffering through the YouTube chat, click like and subscribe. So the amazing thing about this NXT show is they had Io and Kyrie versus Jakara and Lash. And like, I always thought that Jakara Jackson was like tiny. Just tiny. And they're doing spots with Jakara and Kyrie and Io, and frickin' Jakara towers over them. And it suddenly hit me, she's actually not tiny. She's just always standing next to Lash, who's like 15 feet tall. Like, I've been watching Lash and Jakara for months now, and I just thought, like, Jakara's like 5 feet tall or something like that. No, she's like really tall. And then, you know, they did a segment later on, and, you know, there's a bunch of women backstage, and all of a sudden, Kalani walks on screen. It's like, is she 9 feet tall? Like, she must be wearing gigantic heels or something. And so, you know, you know, the end of the show comes and it's Stephanie and Julia. And then, you know, Kalani ends up getting in the ring with them. And granted, she is wearing heels, but she freaking towers over Stephanie and Julia. I was like, man, this show has totally skewed my perception by like who they put with who and whatever. You know, Kalani's a gymnast. I figured she's probably 5 feet tall. Nah, she's probably like 5'4", 5'5", and these other two are just tiny. So anyway, it was bizarre watching this show. I mean, it was literally like watching The Hobbit when Jakara's in there with like, I was like, why is she so tall all of a sudden? Is this like forced perspective? No. Anyway, and then man, when Lash tagged in with Io and Kyrie, I was like, oh my god, she's like the female Great Khali.
Lash's size and her strength is going to be the biggest attribute she has. If she can obviously come along in the ring as a wrestler, you know, she's going to be around for a long time.
We're out of time, everybody. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Sign up. 84 shows a month. You won't regret it. I promise. Trust me on this one. We'll talk to you next time. Wrestling Observer Live.